Amor Fati. Tell people what that means.
Well, it's a Latin expression that literally means love of fate. It was created by the German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, who's one of my great icons in life, one of my favorite writers. And what fate means, things happen to you you can't control. You didn't control who your parents are. You didn't control what city you were born into, what school you went into. You didn't control whether you were born rich or poor, right? There's much you can't control, that's fate. Accept it for what it is. Stop whining and stop going, I want something else. Embrace your world, your life.
With sufficient space and time, we may look back on the negative events that occurred to us throughout our lives and come to terms with them, or even feel appreciative of them, because we understand that without the separation, breakdown, pain, error, or mistake, we wouldn't be where we are today. However, at the time, that was the last thing on our minds as we battled, resented, and wished for a different outcome. Try the technique of acquiescence. Don't hate it. Avoid fighting it. Agree to it for what it is and realize that even if you are unable to perceive it right now, you are going to eventually recognize this as a beneficial. You will come to see it as positive. You will come to realize that it couldn't have been anything distinct in the future. If later, you're going to feel good about it. If later, you're going to give yourself that gift, why delay it? Why? Your choices are two. You can either wish something to happen in a particular manner, or you can accept it as it is. You might decide that you want things to come out the way you want them to, or the way they have already turned out, according to Epictetus. Therefore, this is basically the discipline of ascension, which the Stoics practiced. Will you accept things as they are, or will you wish they were a specific way? This does not imply you accept the inequalities in the world, but it does suggest that you are happy about the weather, whether it's pouring or foggy. If it's warm and sunny outside, you're glad that it is. If you're born short, you're happy about it. If you're born big, you're pleased about it. You embrace everything as they are and make the best of them. This is the idea behind Amor Fati. However, Stoicism is more about being content with the way things are and making the most of what you've been given. The Stoics were really big on acceptance, and acceptance is a scary word to ambitious people, because we didn't get where we are by accepting the status quo or by resigning ourselves to things. Since we didn't get where we are by accepting the status quo or by surrendering ourselves to things, the Stoics were big on acceptance, which is a scary term to ambitious people. However, the Stoics believed that accepting external occurrences and things beyond our reach was the initial phase in moving forward and employing them in some way. As a result, they were fond of the Latin expression Amor Fati, which translates to a love of fate. Marcus Aurelius once stated that everything you pour into a fire is fuel for the flames, and that's how they pictured positive as well as negative occurrences. Not just approval, but an embrace of those circumstances, whatever they may be, whatever they are currently facing. Love is blind. Yes, which is the notion that it's also a catchphrase for sort of embracing everything that occurs to you, rather than disliking it, battling it, or carrying an accusation or burden, but rather sort of embracing it and finding the positive in it. Where does that fit into our nature as humans, though? Well, it fails to fit since our natural frame isn't suited for it. When anything awful occurs, our default setting is, why me? You are aware of having a resentment of some type. Amor Fati is incredibly effective in that. It helps you teach yourself to love everything that happens. This is about conquering some of these basic human tendencies and using them for another goal. Considering Nietzsche, it was said that struggle and pain are a part of life. You will pass away one day and it won't be pleasant. Family and friends will also pass away one day and it won't be pleasant. You will fail in life and people will hurt you. But that is just life. It is what it is. Therefore, to fight against that or be upset about that is to not embrace life. It's simple to discuss Amor Fati, particularly if you mention things like, I'm going to adore that my plane is delayed, or there's a problem with the printer in my book. How often do you try to put Amor Fati into effect in your daily life? I'll give you an illustration. I just moved in with I had a cerebral infarction, which was like a death sentence for me, since I've never had to deal with something similar. I'm someone who's highly active and self-sufficient, and now all of a sudden, I am unable to utilize the left side of my body, and I'm totally dependent. And the initial response is the typical one. Oh man, damn, why this had to happen? This is so unfair. Why me? If only I could just keep sailing. If only I could just carry on with my life as it was. Knowing that you are no longer fighting your natural reactions means that you can move on to the next phase, which is to examine how you feel and the reasons behind your feelings the following day. I had to go via this procedure, and I found it to be very effective for me. Every day, I must recondition my body, relearn how to use my fingers like a baby, and learn how the brain functions. I do not believe it would be fair for me to claim that I love that I had a stroke, but I have come to terms with it and have learned how it makes me better as well as more powerful. I'm learning about patience and impatience with my own limitations. I can't say that I love my stroke, but I have accepted it and have learned how it can make me a better and stronger person. The concept of a morph body is to accept things as they are while making the best out of them. If you are born tiny, you feel good about it. If you are born tall, you are happy about it. We battle with the word acceptance because it feels defeatist and resigned. Epictetus, a Stoic, however, claimed that we must master the art of acceptance. There is a powerful Stoic principle named Amor Fati that we're going to discuss in today's episode that says that understanding the events that occur to us is in fact the initial phase in being able to deal with them and make them into something. In today's episode, we'll discuss the concept of Amor Fati, or love of fate, which embraces accepting the things that have happened to you and the circumstances you find yourself in, not out of resignation or passivity, but rather because doing so is the first step in making them into something wonderful. So Thomas Edison, perhaps the most famous inventor in American history, is having dinner with his family when a man rushes in, setting fire to the company. When Edison arrived on the spot, he found his entire life's work in flames, and his child was standing there in surprise. What did Edison say? Some individuals believed Edison had lost his mind when he said, "Go get your mom and all of her relatives. You'll never see an incident like this again." However, he continued by quoting a phrase from a Kipling poem about how triumph and calamity treat these two impostors equally. Edison is coming to the realization that certain events are simply beyond our power to change. No amount of moaning, complaining, or sobbing will have an impact on them. However, we can control how we respond. And that's what he does, he tells a reporter the next day. "I've gone through things like this before," he states, and he starts rebuilding. He actually takes a $1 million loan from Henry Ford in a matter of weeks. It's partially back up and running in 6 months. It's fully operational. And the idea is that the third act of Edison's life will begin reconstruction after this catastrophe. You can at least take in the nonsense and the bizarre beauty of it, knowing that you'll never see anything like it again. And then you can say, "This keeps me from getting bored. I'm going back to work and turning this into something." It's been a difficult year for everybody. But Marcus noticed that as he faced death, the most terrifying thing a person can encounter, he was facing the end of his life. He said, "Remind yourself of all the things that you've been through and what you've had to endure." He was attempting to get himself motivated to continue. "Of course you're capable of getting through this," he stated. "Think of all the things that you've gotten through in your life." When Edison's factory burns down, he says, "I've been through issues like this previously. I can get through this. I've gotten through progressively worse." Knowing this makes it easier for him to say, "I've been through things like this before. You're able to get through this. I have gotten through even worse." A Stoic uses previous events to motivate, encourage, and give them confidence. Thanks for watching The Stoic Gain. As always, we're looking forward to your support, so please hit the like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe to the channel to stay updated with everything all kings like yourself need to know.